My name is Ivo Calder, 34 shift supervisor at a warehouse on the south edge of town. Wednesday, 6th, 47 p.m. I pulled into the driveway after a 14-hour shift, half asleep and smelling like diesel. All I wanted was a shower, 2 slices of leftover pizza, and peace. The living room lights were on. Through the door came voices, women laughing, the chime of glass. I turned the knob quietly, not sneaking, just too drained to announce myself. Then I heard her voice clear and sharp through the noise. Honestly, I don't think this marriage will last another year. He's way below my level now. My body went still. The laughter that followed hit like a slap. One of them said, "Girl, you've been too patient." Another agreed. I stared at the hallway photo of us on our wedding day, the one where I still looked hopeful. 5 seconds. That's how long it took for shock to turn into clarity. I walked into the living room. 4 faces turned toward me. My wife, Kaya Lennox, sat in the center of the couch, glass of wine in hand, looking like the queen of something small. Her 3 friends froze mid-smile. "Hey," I said evenly, "interesting conversation." Color drained from Kaya's face. "You're home early." Double-ended early. Lucky me. I looked right at her. "So the marriage won't last another year," she stammered. "That's not, I was just—" "Why wait a year?" I asked. "Let's end it tonight." Dead silence. One friend set down her glass. "You're being ridiculous," Kaya managed. "I was venting. Everyone vents." "Right," I said. "Calling me beneath you is just venting. Can we talk in private?" She stood up, trying for control. "Why?" I said quietly. "Your friends already heard the headline." No one met my eyes. I turned for the stairs. Ivo, her heels clicked behind me. "Where are you going?" "Packing." "You can't be serious." I stopped halfway up. "You said our marriage had an expiration date. Why wouldn't I take you seriously?" "That's not what I meant." "It's exactly what you meant." In our bedroom, I pulled a duffel from the closet. Work shirts, jeans, socks. She stood in the doorway, throwing words, overreacting, dramatic, stubborn. I kept folding. "You're going to throw away 5 years over one comment," she said. I zipped the bag. "You think it's one comment? You turned me into a joke. Maybe I'm not good enough for someone who talks about me like that. Let's both upgrade." "I didn't mean it that way." "How did you mean it?" Nothing. Just silence thick enough to taste. I walked past her down the stairs. The wine glasses were abandoned. "Where are you going?" she called from the landing. "Does it matter?" "Of course it does. This is your home." "No," I said. "It's a house where my wife thinks she's above me. Not the same thing." Outside, the air smelled like rain on dust. I sat in the truck for a minute, hands on the wheel, heartbeat loud in my ears. Then I started the engine and drove. The motel near the highway diner charged $49. Room 214 smelled like old carpet and cleaner, but the lock worked. I dropped my bag, sat on the edge of the bed, and stared at the wall. My phone buzzed again and again. Kaya. "We need to talk. Please come home. You're being childish. I'm sorry." I turned the screen face down. For the first time in months, there was silence. And under the silence, something that felt suspiciously like relief. I fell asleep in my work clothes, woke at 6:15 a.m. to the phone vibrating nonstop, 23 missed calls, 47 texts. The last one, sent at 4:37 a.m., just said, "Please." I brewed motel coffee that tasted like cardboard and stared at the weak sunrise through plastic curtains. My shirt from yesterday was wrinkled but clean enough for another shift. Life doesn't pause when your marriage implodes. Then the phone buzzed again, but not from Kaya. A different name lit the screen, Vera Lark, tall, short-haired blonde, the one sitting on the left side of the couch last night. We'd barely spoken before. "We need to talk. It's important. About last night." I frowned at the message. The AC hummed. I almost ignored it. About what I typed. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then again. "Not over text. Can I call you?" 6:23 a.m. too early for more drama, but curiosity is a stubborn thing. Fine. 5 seconds later, the phone rang. "Hey," she said, voice low and shaky. "Thanks for answering. I wasn't sure you would." "Make it quick," I said. "I have work in 90 minutes. "I will." "Listen, what you heard last night wasn't just venting." I didn't speak. I could hear the motel's pipes groan. "She's been planning this, Ivo, since February." That name February hit like cold water. "Planning what?" "The divorce," Vera said. "She's been meeting with a lawyer. The idea was to push you into leaving first so she could claim abandonment. It helps her with asset division. I stared at the coffee cup, watching my reflection tremble. You're serious? I wish I wasn't. She's been keeping notes, twisting arguments to make you look aggressive or neglectful. There's a whole folder of it. My stomach went hollow. Why are you telling me this? She's your friend. Because last night crossed a line. Watching her humiliate you like that. Laughing about it, I couldn't keep pretending. It's wrong. And because you've always been decent to me, to everyone. You didn't deserve that. I pressed my forehead to the cool window glass. Outside, trucks moved like ghosts across the empty lot. Does she know you're calling me? God, no. She'd lose it. Vera's laugh was nervous. I'm recording this call, by the way. You should know. I turned back to the room. You're what? I'll send you the file. You can use it if you need to. You have my permission. Why risk your friendship for me? Because it's not about friendship, she said quietly. It's about what's right. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. I could hear my heartbeat in the line. Thank you, I said finally. Get a lawyer. Today. Don't wait. I will. We hung up. The phone felt heavier afterward, like it now carried weight instead of plastic. I pulled my notebook from the duffel, the one I used to track overtime hours, and wrote on the first line. Feb, she planned it. Lawyer. Record everything. Do not leave residence. Under that, I listed what I had: pay stubs, rent receipts, bank statements, proof I paid every bill. Evidence of an ordinary man doing ordinary things right. The phone buzzed again. Kaya this time. Please, we can fix this. I typed back, get a lawyer. I'll do the same. From now on, we communicate only through them. Send, screen off. I looked at the wall clock, 7:02 a.m. Time to shower, drive work. But something in me had shifted. Not rage, not heartbreak, control. I buttoned a clean shirt and looked in the mirror above the sink. Same tired face, but the eyes were different, focused, steady. Outside, morning light bled through the curtains, thin and sharp as a scalpel. Whatever game Kaya thought she was playing, it ended last night. I wasn't her target anymore. I was her equal opponent. And she had no idea I'd just begun to fight on my terms. The morning after I left felt heavier, but clearer. I brewed motel coffee that tasted like rust and stared at my notebook from last night. Vera's call still echoed in my head. She's been planning this since February. My marriage hadn't just ended in that living room. It had been dismantled in secret months before. I opened the notebook and wrote 3 lines in block letters: lawyer, evidence, control. I wasn't going to be her story. I was going to write my own. At 8:05 a.m., I called the number a coworker Derek once gave me after his own messy divorce, just in case man. The receptionist answered quickly. Caldwell Family Law. How can I help? My name's Ivo Calder. I need a consultation. Urgent. There was a pause, then keys clicking. We have an opening today at 4:30. I'll take it, I said, already feeling the shape of a plan forming. The warehouse was loud as usual. Forklifts, metal racks, steady noise that gave me cover to think. I kept my phone on silent, working through muscle memory loading palettes while running numbers in my head. How much money did we have? What was still joint? How much of my savings had she already touched? During lunch, I stopped by the bank. $4,000 in joint savings, $800 in checking. I withdrew $100 to $500 half of the savings and opened a new account in my name only. I photographed the receipt, then emailed it to myself for proof. I was already learning the rhythm of defense document, don't argue. At 2, I drove back to the house. I had to reestablish presence. Caldwell's website had a blog about it. Don't abandon the residence until council reviews your lease. My hands shook a little when I unlocked the door. I started recording on my phone. Entry 2:13 p.m. property inspection. Kaya was there. She looked startled, hair pulled into a careless bun, laptop open on the table. You came back. I'm getting my things, I said. She tried a soft tone. Can we talk? No. I'm just documenting the space. What does that mean? It means I'm following legal advice. Her expression twisted between confusion and anger. You're really turning this into some courtroom drama. You started it months ago, I said, snapping photos of each room. With your lawyer, the color drained from her face. Vera told you, didn't she? She told me the truth. She exaggerated. I was scared. I just wanted options. You wanted leverage. Her lips trembled, but she recovered quickly. We could fix this, you know. Go to therapy. Reset. No, I said calm as stone. You wanted out. Now you get it, but not on your terms. I took my grandfather's watch, my toolbox, and the folder with old pay stubs. I locked eyes with her once more. Don't call me again. From now on, we speak through lawyers. By the time I left, her tears had turned to fury. I didn't respond. The minute I shut the truck door, I hit record again and said quietly, exit 2:31 p.m., condition intact. No confrontation beyond verbal. Documentation my new language. At 4:30 sharp, I met Mr. Caldwell in a narrow office that smelled like paper and peppermint. He was in his 50s, gray hair posture like a man who's seen every trick twice. Tell me everything he said. I laid it out, the conversation I'd overheard, the call from Vera, the planned manipulation. He listened without interrupting, only writing notes in quick, tight handwriting. When I finished, he leaned back and steepled his fingers. She recorded herself admitting the plan he asked. She did. Vera told me she'd testify if needed. He nodded once. That changes things. We're in a one-party consent state. Her permission makes it admissible. He flipped to a new page. Assets. You rent or own rent. Lease in both our names. Good. Do not abandon the property. Visit weekly, collect mail, take time-stamped photos. What about vehicles? I have a truck paid off. She's got a financed Honda, separate titles. Yes. Keep it that way. He kept going bank accounts, debts, income. When I mentioned the credit cards I'd been helping pay, his pen stopped. She accumulated $7,000 in personal debt, roughly. And you've been covering her payments. She said we were a team. He raised an eyebrow. Teams share effort, not liabilities. Stop paying immediately. He outlined the plan like a general sketching battle positions file. First, control the narrative, freeze unnecessary spending, keep everything factual. If she tries to provoke contact, don't engage. Emotion is her leverage. Facts are yours. How much will this cost? I asked finally. Retainer $1,500. Billable hours after that, but I doubt she'll want this public once she learns what we have. I signed the papers, slid the retainer across the table, and felt something shift. The helplessness of last night was gone, replaced by focus. When I walked out of the office, the sunset hit the glass windows like fire. I checked my phone, 12 missed messages from Kaya, each one a new performance, anger, pleading nostalgia. I ignored all of them. At the bank, I opened a second notebook account to log every transaction. Then I bought a fireproof box from Target and a cheap digital recorder. That night, I sat at the motel desk labeling folders, texts, audio, bank, timeline. I started writing down every argument I remembered from the past 6 months. Date topic, who raised their voice, what was said. I didn't editorialize. I wrote like an accountant. If it ever came to court, I wanted patterns, not feelings. At 9:48 p.m., the phone buzzed again, unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Mr. Calder, a calm voice said, this is Greer Adler representing Ms. Lennox. My client would like to discuss an amicable resolution before this escalates. Please contact my attorney, Mr. Caldwell, I said. She paused. Of course, we'll be in touch. Seconds later, an email from Caldwell appeared. Her lawyer reached out. I'll handle it. Don't reply to her personally from now on. I sat back, exhaling slowly. For the first time in years, I wasn't reacting to her moods, I was steering my own. At 10:30, I drove back to the house once more, purely to collect mail and establish physical presence. The front light was still on. Kaya opened the door, eyes swollen, voice small. You're really doing this? Already done, I said. Evo, please. I looked at her for a moment, not the woman from our wedding photo, but someone I no longer recognized. You spent months preparing my downfall. You should have prepared for me standing back up. I turned away before she could answer. In the truck, I wrote the final entry of the day in my pocket notebook, October 18th, attorney retained. Case file started. Emotional contact severed. The road back to the motel felt quieter this time. I didn't play music, didn't need to. The hum of the engine was enough to drown the ghosts. Back in the room, I placed the notebook in the fireproof box, shut the lid, and turned off my phone. For the first time in months, I wasn't waiting for Kaya's next move. She was waiting for mine. I lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, the same water-stained map I'd seen the night before. Except now it didn't look like Oregon anymore. It looked like a new border one I'd just crossed, and there was no going back. The next few days were mechanical. Wake up, work, document, sleep. Every movement had purpose. I'd become my own archivist. Every text, every receipt, every call log went into a folder backed up 3 ways. Control didn't erase the hurt, it just gave it direction. On Friday morning, Mr. Caldwell called. "We're filing today," he said. "Your wife will be served by Tuesday. That gives her the weekend to stew." "Good," I said. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. I still hadn't replied to Kaya's messages. They came in waves sometimes, apologies, sometimes long essays accusing me of giving up too easily. Each time I copied and saved them before blocking the number. Then she'd use a new one. I spent evenings at the warehouse staying late under the excuse of inventory. Pete didn't ask questions, just handed me extra shifts. The steady noise of machines was better than the silence of thinking. Saturday, I went back to the house to collect more documents. I always recorded my entries, time-stamped each video, and stored copies in the cloud. When I walked in, Kaya was on the couch again, laptop, open phone pressed to her ear. Her expression froze when she saw me. "Evo," she said, "you can't just barge in like this." "I'm on the lease," I replied evenly. "You can't barge me out." She stood up. "I talked to my lawyer. She said you're taking things too far." I'm sure she did. I started gathering mail and utility statements from the counter. She followed, arms crossed. "You know I could have made this easy. We could have worked something out. But you had to make it ugly." I looked up. "Ugly started when you began writing stories about me to your lawyer." Her jaw tightened. "You don't know what you're talking about. I know enough." I filmed a brief clip of the living room to mark my presence and turned to leave. She grabbed my arm, not roughly, but desperate. "Evo, please. We were supposed to build a life together." "We did," I said quietly. "You just started building an escape hatch halfway through." I walked out before she could cry again. I'd stopped confusing tears with truth. Back at the motel, I uploaded the footage and added another entry to my journal. Visited property, 12:18 p.m., verbal confrontation initiated by her. Remained calm. Left without incident. That night, my phone buzzed again, unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Mr. Calder," a woman's voice said. "This is Lindsay Mott. I was at your house that night. I owe you an apology." I recognized her tone before her name. "You don't owe me anything." "I think I do," she said. "She called me today, asked me to tell her lawyer you'd been controlling. That you yelled kept money from her, stuff like that. I can't do it. I won't lie." "Thank you," I said slowly. "You don't know how much that means." "She's been calling all of us," Lindsay continued, "trying to get everyone to repeat the same version. It's falling apart." "Let it," I said. After the call, I wrote her name and statement in the notebook. Every piece mattered. One day, all of it would fit together. Tuesday came. Mr. Caldwell called mid-morning while I was unloading freight. "She's been served," he said. "Process server confirmed delivery at 9:12 a.m. Her lawyer already reached out. They're asking to negotiate." "That fast, she knows what's in the recording," Caldwell said, "and she knows we'll use it if needed." I exhaled slowly. "What's next? Settlement meeting Thursday. You'll come in at 1. Let's play it calm. We have every advantage." That night I barely slept. I wasn't nervous, just wired, the kind of alertness that comes before a storm. Thursday arrived gray and humid. I wore the same button-down I used for job interviews, a simple blue one pressed flat. When I reached the office, Caldwell was already waiting with files stacked neatly across the conference table. "Remember," he said quietly, "we don't gloat. We stay factual." Understood. At 1:15, Kaya walked in with her lawyer, Greer Adler, sharp suit, polished tone, practiced empathy. Kaya avoided my eyes. She looked smaller than I remembered, like someone who'd stayed up too many nights rewriting history. Adler opened her folder. My client seeks an amicable resolution, she began. She wishes to retain her vehicle personal effects and an equitable share of joint savings. She also requests that Mr. Calder assume responsibility for outstanding credit card balances incurred during the marriage. Caldwell didn't flinch. Absolutely not. Those debts were her individual purchases. We have bank statements showing he already covered several payments beyond his share. Adler smiled thinly. Ms. Lennox works part-time. She cannot afford to. She has a bachelor's degree and over 10 years of retail experience, Caldwell interrupted. She's employable full-time. Meanwhile, my client covered rent, utilities, and groceries alone for over a year. He slid a folder across the table. Restaurant tabs, boutique charges, spa visits, all funded by joint accounts. You'll see the amounts highlighted. Kaya's expression flickered. She started to speak, but Adler placed a hand on her arm. We're willing to compromise, she said. 50-50 split, no spousal support. Acceptable, Caldwell said. On 2 conditions, she keeps her debts and each side pays their own legal fees. Adler hesitated, glanced at Kaya, then nodded once. Agreed. The meeting ended in under 30 minutes. As they left, Kaya turned slightly toward me. I hope you're happy now. I looked at her, tired but calm. Not happy. Just done. Caldwell clapped the folder shut. You handled that well, he said. Clean split. You walk away with your truck, your 401k, and half the savings. No ongoing liabilities. That's a solid win. It doesn't feel like winning, I admitted. It will, he said. Once the noise fades. That evening, I sat in my truck outside the office watching rain slide down the windshield. For the first time since that night in the living room, I felt still. The chaos wasn't over, but the balance had shifted. Back at the motel, I poured myself a cup of instant coffee and stared at the fireproof box sitting under the desk. Inside it were weeks of notes, receipts, audio files, my quiet arsenal. I opened it, ran a hand over the edges of the papers, then closed it again. Evidence didn't just protect me, it reminded me who I'd become, someone who stopped explaining and started proving. At 9:00 p.m., my phone buzzed with one last message from Kaya. I hope she's worth it. No name, no context, just that line. I didn't reply. I deleted it, then blocked the number for good. I turned off the lights, stretched out on the bed, and listened to the steady hum of the air conditioner. Outside, the rain had stopped. The night felt clean. For the first time in months, I didn't need to defend myself. I'd already won the only battle that mattered, the one for my own peace. The morning after the settlement meeting, I woke up feeling weightless and disoriented, like the world had lost gravity overnight. No more court documents waiting in my inbox. No more missed calls from blocked numbers. Just the hum of the motel air conditioner and a future I hadn't planned for. For the first time, I didn't rush anywhere. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the pale wall, then reached for my notebook. I flipped to a blank page and wrote in neat lines, case settled. Freedom pending signatures. Begin reconstruction. Mr. Caldwell called mid-morning. She'll sign Monday, he said. After that, you'll both get final copies within a week. I thanked him. And that's it. That's it, he confirmed. You handled this better than most. Keep the documentation, though. You never know what people try after losing control. When the call ended, I realized how strange the word losing felt. Kaya hadn't lost me, she'd let me go long before I noticed. She just didn't expect me to walk out first. I packed my things, checked out of the motel, and drove to the diner next door. The waitress poured my coffee with a nod. Rough week, she asked. Long one, I said. She smiled faintly. You look like someone who finished something important. Maybe I did. After breakfast, I drove back to the house one last time. I wanted closure, not confrontation. When I turned onto the street, Kaya's car was gone. Perfect. I parked out front, started a new recording, and walked through the door. The air inside felt hollow, like the echo of a conversation that would never be finished. I did one final sweep photos drawers, mail utilities. I left the key on the counter and whispered into the recorder, final exit, 12:48 p.m. property intact. I stood for a long moment in the doorway. This was where we'd built a life shared meals, quiet Sundays plans that never made it past the whiteboard. But the warmth had vanished long before the laughter. Now it was just square footage and shadows. I stepped out and shut the door for good. For a while, I drove without a destination. The highway stretched out ahead like an unwritten page. I rolled the window down, letting cold air slap against my face until the buzzing in my chest calmed. I wasn't angry anymore, just empty, and that surprisingly felt like progress. I found a small one-bedroom apartment 15 minutes from the warehouse. It wasn't much bare walls, a view of the parking lot, but it was mine. I signed the lease, handed over the deposit, and slept that night on a mattress on the floor. It was the best sleep I'd had in months. The next few weeks passed quietly. I threw myself into work, picking up extra shifts. Pete noticed. "You're running like an engine again," he said one morning, slapping my shoulder. "Keep this up and we'll have to put you in management." I smiled, one step at a time. Life became simple, warehouse, home, notebook, sleep. Every night I wrote 3 lines, what I did, what I felt, what I learned. It was a ritual of sorts, like sweeping dust out of a room before it built up again. Kaya didn't contact me. Her silence was louder than her words ever were. Still, I stayed alert. People who lose control often try to reclaim it. One Thursday evening, my phone buzzed while I was closing out a shipment log. Unknown number. I ignored it. 10 minutes later, another buzz voicemail. Against better judgment, I listened. Her voice quiet and rehearsed. "Evo, it's me. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I know you don't want to hear it, but I never thought it would end like this." I deleted it without replaying. Closure doesn't come from apologies, it comes from boundaries. "Friday," Caldwell called again. "Papers are finalized," he said. "You're legally divorced." "Already," she signed quickly. "Likely wants to move on." He paused. "I'll email you the final copy. Frame it if you like." I laughed, the first genuine laugh in months. Maybe I will. After work, I printed the document and slid it into my fireproof box beside the old evidence files. Then I closed the lid and pushed it under the bed. The chapter was over. That weekend, I moved the last of my things into the apartment, a small desk, the fireproof box, a coffee maker, and a folding chair. I hung a single photo on the wall, my father and me at the lake, both sunburned, both smiling. It was a reminder that not all bonds rot from neglect. Some stay simple and clean. And Sunday afternoon, I went grocery shopping. In the checkout line, a familiar voice called my name. "Evo." I turned. Vera Lark, her blonde hair shorter, now eyes softer than I remembered. She smiled carefully. "Didn't expect to see you here." "Same," I said. "You look lighter." "So do you." We talked briefly how things ended, how she cut contact with Kaya after everything came out. "I lost a friend," she said, "but I gained peace. Worth it." I'd say the same. Before leaving, she handed me a small envelope. It's a flash drive. The full call and the messages she sent afterward, trying to make me retract it. Just in case. I hesitated. Do I still need it? "Maybe not," she said, "but it's good insurance, for both of us." That night, I stored it in the fireproof box and labeled it Insurance Lark Recording Feb-May. Then I made tea, opened my notebook, and wrote, "The people who once helped her lie are now the ones helping me heal." 2 weeks later, Pete called me into his office. "Assistant manager positions opening up. You interested?" I said yes before he finished the sentence. The promotion came with a raise, better hours, and a small office with a window. When I told Caldwell, he laughed. "See, peace pays dividends." "It's strange," I said. "After losing everything, I feel like I gained something better." "You gained yourself," he said. Life began to fill again, slowly, quietly. I bought real furniture, framed 2 photos, even started going to the gym with Derek. The world hadn't changed. I had. One Friday evening, as I was locking up the office, I saw Kaya's car idling across the street. My stomach tensed, but I didn't move toward it. She sat there for a minute, then drove off without rolling down the window. I watched her taillights fade into traffic. No anger, No ache, just distance, the healthy kind. That night I poured myself a drink and stepped onto my small balcony. The city lights flickered below like a scattered constellation. I thought about how easily love can turn into a transaction and how quietly survival becomes strength. For the first time since that night on the couch, I didn't feel like the man who'd been betrayed. I felt like the man who walked away. I closed my eyes, letting the noise of the city blend into a steady hum. My phone buzzed a text from Pete reminding me about Monday's meeting, another from Derek with a dumb meme. Real life, ordinary life, the kind worth keeping. I wrote one final note before turning in. The storm ended not with thunder, but with silence. And silence at last feels like peace. A month passed before I heard Kaya's name again. By then, the rhythm of ordinary life had settled like clean sheets, worked Jim Bill's sleep. The new apartment smelled like coffee instead of bleach. My routines were steady, simple, and mine. Pete promoted me officially the first week of December. "You earned this," he said, handing me the signed letter. "Good work under pressure. Not everyone can hold the line when life tries to knock them over." I smiled. Guess I had practice. Most nights I stayed late at the warehouse, not because I had to, but because peace still felt fragile like glass. I wanted to keep moving forward before old memories caught up. Still, the ghosts found small ways back in. A song on the radio, a perfume trail on someone in the break room, the echo of her laughter in my head. They came and went quieter each time. Then one Saturday afternoon, I ran into Lindsay again at a hardware store. She looked surprised to see me, but smiled. "Hey, how are you holding up? Better than I expected," I said. "You same." "Actually," she glanced around and lowered her voice. "You should probably know this. Kaya's been calling people again. For what? Trying to get sympathy. Telling everyone you took everything from her. That you left her broke." I exhaled slowly. "Let her talk. Truth doesn't need volume." Lindsay nodded. "Yeah. Most people stopped answering, even the ones who used to defend her." When I got home, I opened my notebook and wrote one line: "Reputation settles itself when truth stops chasing it." Then I closed it and moved on. 2 weeks later, an email came from Mr. Caldwell. The subject line read, "Post-Settlement Inquiry Lennox." My chest tightened before I even opened it. Inside, he wrote, "Her attorney reached out. Apparently your ex-wife is struggling with debt collection. She's seeking a modification to the settlement. I've declined any renegotiation per your standing terms. Just a heads up." I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I replied, "Thank you for handling it. Please keep me posted if she escalates." Caldwell's response came 5 minutes later, already done. "She won't push. She can't afford to." For days, I carried a strange mix of relief and sadness. I hadn't wanted her punished, just gone. By January, she'd vanished from my life. Until one night, a letter slipped under my door. "You got what you wanted. I hope it was worth it." Inside was our wedding photo. I dropped both into the fireproof box marked finalized. It wasn't storage anymore, it was a grave. Soon after, I started visiting a quiet cafe near work. The barista Clara from accounting remembered my order and smiled easily. We began talking books, work life. No performance, no tension. One day she asked, "Are you seeing anyone?" "Not even daylight," I said. She grinned. "Then maybe start with coffee." That night I wrote, "Healing begins when you stop explaining your pain." Weeks passed. The city thawed. So did I. Kaya's name surfaced again when Pete showed me her post about learning from betrayal. "Let her have her audience," I said. "It's not my story anymore." Life steadied. I cooked, slept, worked. Ran into Vera, who told me I seemed good. She was right. Clara texted soon after dinner, "Next week, my treat." I smiled. Months later, Kaya's debt case closed. She was struggling, but I didn't feel bitterness, just peace. On my balcony that night, I wrote, "She built traps with words. I built proof with silence." By spring, calm had returned. Clara and I grew close. She teased me for being too serious, told me to buy a plant to prove something alive can stay. I did. It thrived. Then came a call. Kaya had fainted at work. I was still her emergency contact. At the hospital, she looked small, worn. I didn't know who else to list, she said softly. Rest, I told her, and left. I never saw her again. When Clara asked if I felt guilty, I said, no, just free. Later, I wrote closure is when you can wish someone peace without needing to be part of it. By summer, life had color again, hikes, laughter, quiet dinners. The fern outgrew its pot. I'd finally built a life that wasn't about revenge or proof, just small, honest days. I survived by collecting evidence. I healed by learning when to stop. Tomorrow, I'd buy another plant. And for once, silence didn't mean loss. It meant peace. Thank you for listening to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Also, leave a comment below to share your thoughts on what happened. Take care.